Hi, and in this video we are going to be going over how to create hyperlinks. So I'm going to continue working in this site design that I've been working on the past few videos, but I'm going to start adding in some hyperlinks to my text. So I'm going to locate some of these little superscript elements that serve as being a hyperlink to the source. So I'm going to locate that, and I see number 4 right here. So I want to add in my hyperlink to it. And your standard hyperlink is just going to be an A tag. And if I wrap that around my number 4 here, that gives it, that's going to become a link. But I need to give it, beyond just wrapping an A tag, I need to give it an href. And the href stands for a reference point that it's going to go find. Now this can be different things such as internal links, so something linking within your site, external links, which links to external sites out on the web. This could also be an email, so you can do a mail to and have it send you an email. So in my case here, I'm not going to link it to the resources. That's just a little bit extra that we don't necessarily need for this video. I'm just going to have it go to Google. So I'm going to type in the web address, which is https://www.google.com. And you want the full web address of your actual hyperlink. You don't want to just don't type in google.com. That may not work. You want to give the full web address. When in doubt, just go to the page or your source that you're linking to and copy the full URL. That's the best way to get that in, and ensure that your URL is within those little quotation marks. Now you can see I have this, and if I click on it, not sure if this will render in my live preview here, but it should go to Google. So the live preview might not happen here. You can always test in a browser in Phoenix Code. I'm going to check on Chrome, and I can see that that's popped up my test site for me. And if I click on that hyperlink I made, I can see that that page tested and is going to Google correctly. So that's what I would like that to do. Always check your hyperlinks as you're making them to ensure they're working correctly. So now that I've created this link and tested it, you saw that when I clicked on the hyperlink that it opened Google in the same tab as what my site had previewed in. I don't want that to actually happen. I want to change the target so that the link will open in a new tab. By default, your link has a target of self. So if it targets that self, that is the default link. You don't have to type that in, but what that means is anytime I click on the hyperlink, it will open in its own window. We want to change that to being target blank. And that means that it's going to open in a new blank tab when the user clicks on that. So let's test that out and see how that looks. So you see I have my site here, and when I click on this, I can see that it now has opened Google up in a new tab. So now let's take a look at turning an image into a hyperlink. So I currently only have one image on my page, which is okay, but we're going to turn it into a hyperlink. Oftentimes you will see logos will be considered to be a hyperlink, usually to go back to the home page. So let's see what that looks like in our code. So I'm going to find my image here, and I need to wrap the A tag around it. So I'm going to add a tag. I'm going to wrap that around my image here. And then I need to give it an href. And oftentimes if I wanted this to go back to the home page, I could type in something like index.html. And that would take it back to the home page. So if I was using that as a landing mark on my header or something to always go back, I can send that back to the home page. Since this is the only HTML I have, that would be what we would call an internal link. Let's see what it looks like if I link it to in a different existing website. So let's try Amazon. And we can see what that looks like. So we'll save it and we'll test it in our browser. So I'm back in Chrome, and now when I click on this, oops, clicked on the wrong thing. When I click on my image, it takes me to Amazon. And because I did not change the target, the default is target self, it swapped out in this same tab as opposed to my Google. Even if I keep clicking that, if I go back to my site, it keeps making new tabs. So a good rule to remember as you're working through your website, on any external link, if it takes people off of your site, you want to make that a target blank. If it's a link, an internal link, so linking somewhere internally within your own site, then you can use that target self so people don't end up with 50 tabs while they're browsing your website. But if it's something that takes them away from your site, you want that to be a different tab. That way your website will remain open so your users can go back to it. Hyperlink that is going to send an email. So I'm going to put that in my footer right under the all rights reserved. Let me go ahead and put in a little break tag. And then I'm going to put in some nice text where it's like, contact our web administrator. Work. There we go. Contact our web administrator. And I want to make either the word web administrator or the entire thing a hyperlink. So let's test out and see what that looks like. So first I need to make my A tag, wrap it around. I'm going to wrap it around the entire call to action here. This would be a call to action saying, hey, do something. We would like you to contact us. And then my href is not going to be a like a link, a web link or an internal link. It's actually going to be what's called a mail to. So that's mail to, all one word, colon, and then you will put in the email address. So if I put in admin@blackgoosebistro.com, which that is a made up email link, then when somebody clicks this link, it will pop open a mailing program. So generally it's whatever's set up to your computer. If that is an Outlook or something else, it's going to pop open a new email window. So that's a structure for how to turn a hyperlink into something that you're going to email to somebody. Now it's important that, and I talk about this a little more in detail than I did before, any of your text that falls in between the A tag, the start of the end tag, and the start of the A tag and the end of the A tag is what is going to become the hyperlink. So if I only wanted this to read web administrator would be the hyperlink and contact is not, that's the difference in appearance. So then that gives me, this is now a clickable link where contact hour is not. So again, a reminder that HTML only renders one space. So even if I put a bunch of spaces in here, I only have one. However, I can eliminate that space and now they're smudged together. So I need at least one space either before or after that link, just to make that look correct. So anything that you write in between the A tag will be what text-wise becomes the hyperlink. Good programming notes are that the hyperlinks should be something that makes sense to a user. So a clear call to action such as contact our web administrator, this would let me know that this is going to be a way to contact or an email. It could be more specific like via email or email our web administrator if I want to be a little less verbose. What you do not want to ever have anytime you are doing an A tag is click here. That is a terrible click here or just here, where somebody has to read the instructions. That is a very poor way to describe something to your user. Always make sure that it's very explicit of, if I click on this hyperlink, I know where I am going. I know what window this opens up. I know what resources I'm going to get if I click on this. Here, click here, follow, more. Those are not good calls to action. If you are coding and you don't know your hyperlink yet, but you know that you're going to need to link something in the future, if you don't have a general placeholder that you're going to put in, you can use the hashtag # as a placeholder. So without an href, this can sometimes pull up as an error. That is a standard placeholder, is to just put that little # in your href until, so it'll behave as a hyperlink, however it won't go anywhere. Having a hyperlink be very specific for your user so they know what they're getting when they click on your link. You can always add a title element to your hyperlink, and that will typically pop up as a tooltip for a user. So if they hover over that link, you can give them more information. That is a hover effect. Understand that that doesn't necessarily work the best when you are in a mobile view, just because you can't hover, but it works well for a browser. It also adds a little more semantics to your link. So to put that in, I'm just going to, within my a tag, after my href, I'm going to call out the title element. So title is going to equal to, and then I can type in anything. So I'm going to write our web admin is awesome. You can sometimes copy, so if it's like, be more specific, where it's like, hey, if click here to download this PDF, it can have, that can be your link, that could be your button, but you can also say, hey, this downloads this PDF. So if I save this and I hover over there you go, I can see my tooltip, our web admin is awesome. So this doesn't preview on the page, but it exists as a tooltip when I add that title element to a hyperlink. So let's style up some of these hyperlinks that we've made. So I'm going to scroll up to my CSS up top here, and let's look at some of the different basic colors and styles that you can do with your hyperlinks. So the first one is going to be a, because we want to call out that, and then a link. And this will allow me to change the default color of our hyperlinks. By default, it's going to be blue when it's an unvisited link, purple, I think, when it's clicked or visited. There's a couple different states. By default, not very exciting. So for my standard link, instead of doing the basic blue, I want to change the color. So I'm going to change the color to be our orange. And you can see that has changed all of the hyperlinks on this page. I can even change the font family. So I've got my, I'm going to use that nice Open Sans, because by default this link color is still this Times New Roman. Not really a fan of that. So let's go ahead and grab that font family out of my little code snippet. Make that Open Sans. That looks nice. I can set the font height or the font weight. Oops, display. Set the font size. Let's make it a little smaller. There we go. Make them a little bit smaller. And that looks pretty nice. So let's keep going and let's look at an A hover color. So when I hover over my link, again, this doesn't necessarily always work in a mobile setting, but it will have a color adjustment. So rather than doing orange, let's make it a little darker. Let's see how this chocolate color looks. That looks kind of interesting. There, and I can see that that is changing. And notice that the font is not changing because this link applies to all of the hyperlinks on the page, and then I can simply set what I want to happen when I hover over. So it's good to not have your links change size or anything like that. Sometimes you see them grow larger when people hover, but that can start messing, especially if you have something that is in text like this one, can start messing with the sizes and the spacing. This just gives me a little nod that I am hovering over that. Then I can look at a active. Oops, I have to put my colon there. That's really helpful. So this is going to be helpful if you've got a whole bunch of navigation bar, anything like that. So if this link is currently active, we'll check the color to aquamarine, which may not work so much. I'm probably not going to see this unless I necessarily click on it. Then it becomes active. And then I also have a visited. So one that shows that if I've, you see this often if you have clicked, I think it changes to purple normally, and I can change that color to being, let's say, black. I don't want to get too terribly far off my color scheme here. So let's save that and test it in a browser. So I can test this. I can see that because I visited this link already, it has turned black. Let's try it with this one. There we go. Now that I've clicked on that and visited that link, it has turned black, and I can check, there we go, that my hover link is working. So those are some of the basic semantics on adjusting your hyperlink colors and appearances in CSS. So I want to do one more thing with my links. By default, we'll have all hyperlinks will be underlined. Sometimes you want that because you want people to know that these exist as hyperlinks. If your hyperlinks become too enmeshed with the rest of your text, they don't stand out as like, oh, I realize I can click this. But sometimes you don't want that underline. Sometimes when you're designing, you say, hey, no, thank you. I want, it's a little chunky, or if you're styling it as more of navigation, you can eliminate it by saying text decoration. Oops. I have a typo here. Text decoration, that's why it wasn't working so well, and then set that to none. And you can see with the text decoration of none, that removes that underline. So if I wanted that to pop up in a hover effect, text decoration, and I can say underline. And then when I hover, you can see that it gives me that extra underline. So that's a way you can add and remove that standard underline that comes in with your hyperlinks. So that's some of the very basics on working with hyperlinks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.